Hi everybody, we are coming at you with another Encite Live from the Denver Athletic Club. My name is Nika Yushkovich and I'm here with Adam O'Leary. And today we are going to be talking about an article that we found about Hotmail or Outlook, which they prefer it to be called. We'll be getting into that. So essentially Microsoft changed from Hotmail to Outlook, right, a little bit ago. And they've been doing other updates recently, including integrating with ChatGPT for a lot of the software that they have included. And I guess that leaked into Hotmail somewhere, into their inboxes, because apparently due to ChatGPT or an error from somebody at the company, people's inboxes were flooded with junk mail and spam mail and all of this stuff that there were supposed to be filters for, and it basically turned into a giant meme on Twitter. Everybody was saying like somebody must have pressed the wrong button and let the floodgates open, basically, to the point where Hotmail was doing that. And I think it brings up like a very interesting conversation about how you can get negative press. That is the thing that you can achieve. Everybody's always talking about how what is it? No press is bad press or whatever.
Not entirely true, but okay.
Definitely not true, especially with this one, because as I even said, Hotmail, but it's actually Outlook, and everybody was calling it Hotmail. So that was one of the things that I'm sure really pissed off a lot of people at Microsoft. That they had been turned into this meme, that they did something wrong, that everybody was talking about it, and that they were using the wrong name for their company. So definitely very interesting.
Yeah, super interesting. And it's like you got to, the no press is bad press is not true in the slightest, but those kinds of, on that scale, right? Like one little thing, right? One small piece of code creates a firestorm, right? Like so it's one of those things I'm sure that they have, their PR agencies kind of, sort them out and are on top of these kinds of things to do some, fire control kind of thing and then kind of those narratives. But it's something you have to think about when you do those kinds of things or do these kinds of updates or do these kinds of coding. But one thing that would be very stressful if you're in that team is that one little thing, man, leads to all of this.
Yeah, and they are experimenting and working with relatively new sort of functions on their software. As ChatGPT has only really gained prominence recently, and people have started looking at it, and it's been getting more attention. But the developers of that program are still working on it, so it's still like a work in progress. So it's very interesting to see them move so quickly on that, which I think is always going to be a risk. So, they probably should have considered that beforehand, but.
But I know that there's some things that they can do with like scenario planning and from a PR perspective, and if this happens, what do we do? And I'd be interested to see behind the scenes whether or not that they had some of that scenario planning, saying like, hey, we're launching this, we're integrating this new piece, and that happens all the time, right? Like there's all these new integrations of, Google does it and Microsoft does it, and everybody, all these big tech companies have to evolve, right? Like they have to start to put these kind of new apps in, new features, all that kind of thing.
I'm curious. It's
scary. I'd be scared on that side,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious if they had like a beta, roll out beforehand, because I feel like that would be the protocol. The article didn't mention anything about that, about them having like a test system, like a select population. You would think that, you would think that would work, but maybe the sample size wasn't big enough for this issue to come up.
And I can imagine the scale of it. Like the scale of it is you're changing millions of people's, the way they interact. And then of course,
and their work.
And of course, if you have something go wrong outside of millions of people, just the sheer statistics of it, even if you have 1%, now you have all these people. So, I had the experience with it, and all of a sudden I was like, why am I, and you dated me because I had a Hotmail account, and I still have a Hotmail account.
Yes, a little old.
I've had a Hotmail forever. And
Outlook.
Well, it's still Hotmail though.
It's still at Hotmail?
Yeah, it's still at Hotmail. So, but that's what I use, when you order food or you order something online, I use that email address. I don't, like I said, I haven't used that as an outgoing email because from a branding standpoint, if you get an email from somebody, it's like from Hotmail, you're like, you said you had an AOL. So it's kind of like that, right? Like it's
way back in the day, a decade ago.
Right. So I don't use it as kind of communication for business, of course, and but at the same time, I got all of these spam emails.
It'd still be annoying.
And it was obvious that it had all the spam email characteristics of it, like weird characters in the subject line, and like all the things for the email stuff that we do, like what you don't do, right? That it was doing that, and it was still coming through. So that's why we kind of thought of this
bizarre.
To look up this article and see why was that happening, because man, these are like fundamental spam things, and they're coming through to my inbox. And so I've been going back through and rejunking all of the ones that are obviously spam.
It's interesting. I mean, I miss emails sometimes without that problem. You know, like I'll get a bunch of emails one day and then miss something on accident, like something important or something that I should have responded to. So having a bunch of spam in your work email, that would be
stressful.
A nightmare to have to deal with and work with.
Yeah, but on that subject, like email marketing, like some of our best practices for our clients moving forward to, what you do, obviously spam is a big deal. Deliverability is a big deal.
Yeah.
But some of those email service providers, MailChimp, Constant Contact, and even some of your CRMs, HubSpot and ActiveCampaign, like all of those, they have articles on that to kind of have your best practices, and kind of will also kind of have evaluation tools. To when you create an email, there's times where say, hey, this may be a little spammy, this may be changed a little, which is really nice, right? But overly salesy kind of subject lines, using weird characters and subject lines. However, there has been a trend to using little, I'm losing it, not icons, emojis. Like emojis. So there are some best practices there. So,
that just dated you even more.
I know, right? Emojis. So, but no, But that's the kind of thing. There's all these best practices of moving forward of how do you ensure deliverability using a legitimate email service provider is one, right? Like I said, MailChimp or Constant Contact.
I guess that is very surprising that those emails still even exist in this day and age. I feel like that information is so readily available that this is going to be marked as spam. Like, this is spam. Like, don't do this. Get a different email. So it's interesting that stuff even still happens.
I think a lot of those big spam emails that are coming through that we see, I mean, those are 100% illegal emails that aren't going through legitimate email service providers, right? Like they're doing it through own servers or however they.
But what is the point? Like what is the? They have to be getting something out of it, or that wouldn't be happening.
It's volume. It's volume.
Yeah.
I mean, even people that are even less. Let's say people that are even older than me will make the mistake. I may have a Hotmail account, but I can see a spam email when I know one, and I know never to click into a spam email, right? However,
that's horrible for Microsoft to do that.
My dad may still be doing those kinds of things, right? Like so there is something to it. So they're seeing some kind of return on that. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. But it's a purely a volume thing. If I could send out literally a billion emails, and I get 1,000 responses, and to respond to that call to action, and I get them to I get their info.
Would you say that you look at Microsoft differently now that this has happened, like to you as well?
I don't. I know a lot of people will, and a lot of people would kind of judge that kind of thing. But mistakes happen, right? But their mistakes happen just on a monumental scale. Like, we all make mistakes, right? We're looking at things on a website where there's a typo at times, right? Like that kind of stuff happens. We're trying to alleviate that,
right?
But it's just so public for them, right? And I kind of take it in perspective. I mean, knowing how email marketing works, knowing what we are doing for clients, knowing how we're sending out emails. I mean, I can only speculate. I can't even imagine on that scale kind of thing. So, judge not lest you be judged kind of thing. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
People make a mistake, but they're just getting a lot of publicity.
Exactly.
So.
What's happened has happened, and I think it's really important for them to respond accordingly press-wise. It's always been really interesting to me to see how people respond to controversies like this or scandals, especially companies, and how their PR team handles it.
Yep.
And I've noticed that in the past, it's so bizarre because it's like when you take a PR course in college or online or anything, like the rule number one is to like be genuine in your apology, like just apologize. You messed up and be genuine in your apology.
100%.
And it's so bizarre to me how few companies actually do that. It's like rule number one. And so many of them will just give excuses or put the blame on somebody else or blame the customer even to sort of like save face. And I think there's a big pride aspect in that.
Yeah.
And it's just like the wrong thing to do. Like you just have to apologize for your mistake. Even if you say, this is the person who messed this up and you out them to the world, you know, that doesn't do anything. That doesn't do any good. No. Just apologize for the mistake and move on and be authentic.
Yeah,
you know?
Transparency, authenticity. You know, I mean, it's always kind of like been rule number one of kind of PR.
Yeah.
But their scale is just.
I don't believe they even have put out a press release yet for that.
Be interested to see.
Yeah, right? I think so far they've just been replying to people on Twitter, being like, DM us about the issue and we'll get you support or whatever. But
they
I don't
didn't
know
just put
if
on Twitter like, oopsie. Sorry.
No. I don't know. They could turn it around and make it funny, especially because people are already memeing it. So you might as well join in on that conversation and meme yourself because that would give you a lot of credibility. But
be interested to see how many people close their Outlook or Hotmail accounts or how many people open new ones because of controversy. You think
I don't think anybody would open one off of this. Because of this. Maybe depending on how they handle the press. You know, if we see a genuine apology, I think that type of stuff is so rare. So people would be like, wow, props to Microsoft. Maybe I will switch over. I want somebody who's going to be straightforward with their approach and take accountability. So I don't know. It will be interesting for sure.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Yep. So that has been this episode of Encite Live. Make sure to tell us your opinions about this whole situation in the comments. My name is Nika Yushkovich, here with Adam O'Leary, and we will see you guys next time.
See you guys.